I like this lens. I like this lens a lot. I don't even know what this is. Okay. If I'm right, this is something I've been pretty excited about, but I've been hesitating to get for a long time. So I figured I'd unbox it here. I've never done an, have I done an unboxing video? It's a lens. I got a new lens. Bag. Oh, I thought this was gonna be the lens. This lens is the first new lens I have bought, and actually since I bought this lens, which I bought well over a year ago, and this is a 14mm lens that I've been using for all my YouTube videos, a ton of my client work. I do have other lenses that I use that are older lenses that were cheaper lenses, but this is like the first like new lens that I'm buying. So this is the Lumix Leica 1.4 25mm lens. And I guess, well, let's use it. I had the perfect thing to use this for. So this morning I found this dude running around my apartment, and frankly I don't have the heart to throw him out into the cold, so instead, in the meantime, I'm adopting him. Well, I feel pretty horrible that I'm keeping him captive. Well, I hope you like that thing at least. You should use it. You're horrified, aren't you? I'm so sorry, dude. But we're gonna name him Daisuo after the character in Oldboy who was held captive for 15 years without him knowing why. So I've had this lens for about 24 hours now, and I don't think that's really enough time for me to give my full review on it. So in this case, I just figured this video would be a good impressions and kind of test footage with it to give you an idea of what it looks like on the Lumix GH5, which is the camera that I'm using. Now right off the bat, this is a 1.4 aperture, so it's big, nice, and open, which gives you a pretty good shallow depth of field as well as a lot of light. So on a day like today, which is really crummy and dark and gloomy, this setting is a really great scenario of how good it is in lower lighting moments in life. Right. So right now this lens is set at 1.4 and we are at a ISO of 200, so that's the lowest ISO and the lowest aperture, and I think it looks damn good. I feel like it looks super sharp and crisp while the background is just wonderfully just out of focus enough. Now unfortunately I was hoping to go outside sometime today to try and get some tests, but it's just a really crummy day and it just wasn't suitable for me to like get out there and start shooting stuff. So I was only able to get out for a second and see kind of what it's like outdoors. Otherwise, all of these tests have been indoors inside of my apartment. So right off the bat, the things I love about this lens so far is how good it is in lower light situations, and also that I think the depth of field is awesome. Now, full disclosure, I'm really not a photographer. I'm first and foremost a dude who shoots videos. I'm not the greatest photographer. I did take a few pictures with this camera last night in a very low light setting. And I mean, judge them for what you will, but I'm here to admit it's not totally my strength. But the reason why I think that's important to mention is because I'm going to be using this first and foremost for video work. Which leads me to another point. I don't think I will be using this as my YouTube lens. I think I will remain to use the 14mm Lumix lens that I have, which is a fantastic lens for YouTubing, for getting really up close to the camera. It's a nice big wide spread without distorting it too much. With that said, let's switch over. So just to give you an example of how important that 1.4 aperture is the lens that I'm using currently is a 2.5. So it is at 2.5 at a 200 ISO, and it's like pretty gloomy and dark looking. Nah. Oh. Hello there. Now the big selling point for this lens is the Leica name, and like that is the glass that is on the front of this dude. And there is a magic to it. It makes a world of difference, or at least it feels like it makes a world of difference. One thing I don't like about this lens is I feel like the focusing takes a while because this is just an infinite ever scrolling wheel. It felt like I was like really going for a while just to pull focus on just like little narrow changes, which is kind of a bummer. So that's something I would have to keep in mind when I'm shooting video in which I do manual focus pretty much always, and that this is not going to be the lens I want to do if I want to do a quick turn of focus. But a few of these lenses are actually good for doing that anyways. So unfortunately I don't have any like professional work that I've done with this to show, but with the stuff that I've done with it, with building the rat cage and everything else was shown, is I'm sold. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I made the leap in getting this lens specifically, because I was going back and forth on a number of lenses, and really just that Leica glass, that crisp sharpness to it, that good depth of field is what sold me, and it is what delivered. And if you're new here, I'm Kurt Indovina. I mostly talk about video games, sometimes video stuff, now sometimes camera stuff, but for the most part, video games and life and other things. It all plays a part in who I am, which is Kurt. Okay, thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope that this was of some use to you and helps you make a decision on whether or not you want this lens or you're just curious about it, and I like it. Yeah. Okay, that's all I got. Till next time, bye. And how could I have nearly forgotten to not give you an update on Daisuo, who's right here, right next to me. He has barely come out at all. I've heard him like nibbling on some cornflakes, but that's about it. Okay, bye.